person. So that's the live that we're going to be doing. That's the live that we're going to be doing today. Un momento. Excuse me. That's the live that we're going to be doing today. Just give me 1 second, my loves.
Hey, Yellow Man. What's up? Hey, Sissy. Hey, how are you?
Kiva, people in reach.
I see them coming in. I see them coming.
You see people in reach, not sure.
It's not a lot of them, but I can't stay.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine. At least you came in.
Yeah. All right. So welcome everybody. Let's go to 10K likes, guys. Don't stop tapping. All right, Kiva, can you go ahead and just introduce yourself to everyone who's watching and everyone who's listening to your voice, please?
Okay, so hi everybody. Before I introduce myself, thank you, Sasha-lee, for giving me the opportunity to use your panel to have this. And I just want to call it a conversation. My name is Keva. I am 36 years old. I'm a mom of 2. I'm a mom of 2. I put myself as a very simple person. A lot of people say the finer things in life, are the things that make you happy, but I'm extremely simple. And I believe that the stages that I have been through in life is the reason why I am the way I am today. I've also known Sasha-lee for quite some time. I can seriously say maybe I've known you for maybe over 10 years.
About 10, yeah.
Roughly, more than 10 years. But yeah, today we spoke briefly before this, and today I just wanted to share things that I've passed through in life that I have learned so much from, and I have been able to achieve so much knowledge through understanding what emotional trauma is, because that is one of the biggest traumas that we have in our society now that a lot of people don't look at because they are never told what it truly is. Because emotional trauma plays a role in almost everything that happens to us in our everyday life. Loss. One of the biggest things are loss, even discrimination. That's a part of emotional trauma. So I am going to try my best to put everything that I have in not such a long story, but a very short one. Because like I always told people, my trauma started before I was born. It's all started with abandonment. And a lot of people always ask me, how is it that trauma can start before you were born? And it's weird. My dad left before I was born. So I was born without a father. And that right there, brings a certain form of trauma for a child. But a lot of people will look at it and be like, oh, you were just a baby. Why do you need your dad? Because the bond and the love that a child that has just been born gets from both parents is different from only getting it from one. And we don't understand that. We were never taught that. We were taught to be grateful. Am I grateful? Yes. But by the time I was 2 months old, my mom left. So before I was born, by 2 months old, both parents are gone. By the grace of God, I was still blessed to have 2 parents in my household, which was my grandma and my grandpa. And then I was brought up hearing all kinds of stories because unfortunately and fortunately for me, I was a split image of my mom, but still had features from my dad. So in my neighborhood, I was told I would be just like my mom, or I would turn out just like my dad. So I grew up with the stigma of not knowing who I was. That's the first thing, because I was brought up by grandma and grandpa, and I don't know the characteristics of my parents, but yet I'm being told about who I'm going to be before I could even choose who I wanted to be. So with all that trauma, abandonment that's what we call it, it it had a toll on me for years that I did not understand. And a lot of people suppress trauma. When you're a child and you go through so many hurt and pain in life, or you see a lot go on around you, we have this nice little dark hole that we call our subconscious, that we just tuck things away in, and we don't remember it because, hey, what we don't know don't hurt us, right? And a lot of people, what I tell people all the time, that my grandma taught me how to be a slave and my grandfather taught me how to be a free woman. My grandma was a Black woman and my grandfather was Irish. So my grandmother taught me how to wash, cook, clean, cater to your man, shut up when he speaks, don't talk back. If he cheats, just be a good wife. If he does this, just be a good wife. While my grandpa taught me, you can do anything you want to do in this world. You can be whatever you want to be. You can achieve greatness. Don't let nobody treat you unfairly. Even though he treated my grandmother unfairly every single day, he beat her, cheated on her, did everything that he told me never to take from anyone. And growing up, I didn't see how unfair it was until I got older. And grandma gone, grandpa gone, and I had to live with my mom at the age of 13. First met my mom in real life, like knowing that, okay, she's a real person. She lived 2 hours away from me. I grew up in Sav, for Jamaicans who are in here, and my mom lived in Montego Bay all my life. So imagine coming to the understanding that your mom was in reach of you all this time, but she chose not to take you, and she had a whole child, and it was like, so what about me? What about my sister? Like, did you forget about us? Like, if my grandmother did not have to leave, would you even take us? You get, like, so many questions used to go through my mind. Oh, yeah. And it kind of turned me into someone that was so rebellious. As a 14-year-old, I was extremely rebellious. I used to do things to my mom just because I felt like doing it. I was like, you didn't deserve my love. You don't deserve whatever it is that I have to offer. I don't see what on this earth you could tell me that you deserve from me, because you left me. And now you're telling me that I should be good. I should not do certain things, and I just wanted to do whatever I wanted to do, because to me it was, who is this woman telling me where I should go or what I should do?
Absolutely.
And then you're not doing it either. So it's like, you're telling me that I got to go do this, but you're not doing it. And then out of my rebellion came a lot. By the time I was 13 going on to 14, my mom had a hair salon that I now had to work in to feed myself. I don't eat meat. And she would say, oh, your chest is too high. I can't feed you. And to my reconciliation, eating vegetables was way cheaper than eating meat. I remember I went to Manning's all the way in Sav, and I was living in Montego Bay. I had to come home, work in the shop, do my homework, keep straight A's through high school, go home like 10, 11 o'clock in the night, and still wake up by 4 o'clock because I had to take a whole 2-hour drive to school, wake up, go to school, and do that all over again. Weekends, I never had weekends. I never had the playtime that a lot of kids would have my life was so structured in, I would see my sisters go out and play and I would be stuck working. And I don't get paid. It's not like, oh, I'm working and I have a pay that comes in every week. I don't. My pay is what I eat and how I go to school. Until I got older, and then I realized that my dad was giving money towards the household. My dad was doing all these things that me and my sister was told that was never happening. So all of these things now are packing trauma on top of trauma until I had my first real relationship with my son's father. And I was so locked in that the first time I got the chance to go out, it was like, B, I'm done with high school at 16. Okay, I'm a free girl now. I can go do whatever I want to do. Bam, I got pregnant. And then I was told it's either if you keep it, you got to go. If you don't keep it, you can stay. At the age of 13, I was diagnosed with a heart issue. And the doctors told me that it's like an 85-15 to the point that you might not have kids. And even if you get pregnant, you will lose it. So, to me, that was a blessing. I'm like, yeah, I'm pregnant. I'm going to have a baby. I was 16. I didn't care. Like, I was turning 17. I don't have high school no more. I'm out of high school. I don't have no plans. The only thing my plan is to go to my mom's shop and work. That's my only plan. So why can't I have a child? I remember when I told my mom that I'm keeping my child, she packed my things and life journey started there. At the age of 16, I had to move in with my son's father. I will not say it was a bad thing because I was not treated unfairly being there with him. He treated me really good. We were friends way before we became intimate. So it's like we had a great relationship. It didn't matter. So, I'm trying to pack all of this in one. It so happened that when our son was born, a few months later, we broke up, and then I became a single mom with a child. When my son turned 1, I met my daughter's father. Sasha-lee knows who he is too. So, meeting him, it was like a Prince Charming coming in. Woohoo, I met this man.
Before we go there, with your first child's father, do you think the trauma that you would have walked into the relationship, do you think that contributed to the relationship ending abruptly?
It did. It was a contribution. We both had trauma from our parents and everything else that was happening in the world. And he got an opportunity. He saw how his opportunity could get him in America, and I had nothing to offer him. Okay. I was basically what you would call a burden. Even though my burden to him wasn't because of whatever happened in my childhood. It was more because I had a child. He had to take care of me and the child. Mm-hmm. Okay, now I have an opportunity and I don't have to do that nor do this. I can go abroad and I can, make it bigger. Life. So it was like a choice. Do I stay here or do I go there? And I understood his choice. At first I didn't.
But now you do.
It took a while. It took us like maybe a good 4 years. But after that, like, we sat down. Now we're best friends. Like, I will not lie. Like, we talk to each other we have a great relationship. A lot of people look at us and they would be like, so after that, I said, no, never. Thank you so much for the heart. We have never touched each other from the day we separated until now. We have been cordial towards each other. We have respect for each other. Do we argue? Yes, we do. Do we have disagreements? Yes, we do. I believe any relationship that you have is going to come with something, but it's your approach towards it, And trust me, guys, I was never this big of a person,
Okay. So when
so continuing,
you
when
met
my
your
son
child's
turned,
father, so so you and your son's father, you separated, and then you met your other partner, who would have been the person that I know. So now you're coming from a place of trauma. You're coming from a place.
trauma. So that's 3 trauma right there that I had no time to deal with.
Okay.
Trauma from my childhood, from my parents leaving me. The second trauma was, being around my mom in the state that I was in. And the third trauma was now I'm a single mom out here in the world.
Okay.
Was I conscious of the things that I had to get done? Yes, I was. Did I know what I had to do? Yes. But did I understand it? No. Because I had no one to teach me certain things. It's like I was self-taught all this time. So when I met my daughter's father, I was 18. He's twice my age. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
He's twice my age, but I didn't see age as this problematic thing. Back home it was, you see somebody, you like them, you of age, it ain't no big deal, And at the time when he came, I was in a place where I just wanted someone to see me. And I wanted to get out of where I was so desperately that I covered my eyes and I looked past everything. And I said, I see where something great can come out of this. I wasn't looking at the fact that he was a cheater. Was he? Oh my God. Did I know that from the day I met him? Yes, I did. But I'm like, weigh the options. At this point in time, who am I really going to find who's not a cheater? Maybe time spent together, the more we grow together, things will be different, Yeah. So I met him through work because I had started my own company back home, back in Montego Bay, and he had the same thing in Kingston. So we met literally because people told him, hey, I know this girl. She's good at this. You need help in Montego Bay. Let her do it. So I worked for him for like a year before we decided that, hey, let's take this relationship to something else because, we're spending time together. Everything is good. Da, 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 da. All right, let's move in together. I was like, you know what? It ain't a bad idea. Leave Montego Bay, go to Kingston. Kingston is where everybody want to be,
Yeah.
You're a little country girl. You going to the big Kingston, where everybody is rich and famous and all this. It was like a woohoo moment for me. So when I went there, it was a shock because visiting and living, 2 different things.
So may I live with me? Mm-hmm.
2 different things. Going and coming was fine, but as soon as I moved in, it was like, damn, like this is what I've been putting up with. How did I not see this?
Yeah.
But then I'm here now, so let's just make the most of it. At one point in time, I got so depressed because now I really didn't have family in the first place. Now I really don't have any family around me. I have a man who cheats with his eyes closed and his legs tied. It don't matter what you do nor how you do it. And then he was verbally abusive. And with everything that I had going on, it was like I came to multiple I don't want to be here moments. Mm-hmm. I OD'd myself on pills and other things. I did alcohol with pills. I tried like maybe 3 to 4 times until one day I was like, okay, it ain't happening. So maybe there is something else that I need to be doing. So I started focusing on me. Still not dealing with my trauma. You guys realize that at any point in time, I did not say I took time to deal with trauma. I didn't know what trauma was.
Right.
All I knew to do was to survive. I needed to survive at any cost. I don't care how survival comes. I don't care what it comes with. I gotta survive, you know? So I started to work. You know, we would go, the business started to boom. I would tell him, okay, I'll go on the road. You know, you don't have to get managers to go on the road. I'll do this. I just started doing everything just to not be in the space where I felt like my whole life was falling apart. And we started to make plans. We made plans. Did we accomplish all those goals? Yes, we did. You know, when we started dating 2-3 years later, we said we're going to start saving up to buy a house, just live a good life. We accomplished all those things. We got the big house, got the big cars, got the chance to take the trips, wear the nice clothes. But there was always sadness, walking around with this big rock on your hand and calling yourself the missus while people look down on you and call you names. And you come to breaking points.
Take a minute.
I remember at one point in time when people asked me, oh my God, you're engaged. Yes, how did it go? I would just laugh it off. I didn't get the, will you marry me? I got the, we were arguing one night and I threatened to leave and he was like, let's just get married and get it over with. And I was like, I was so caught up into making our world and our kids have a home with mommy and daddy. Because by now I had my daughter. Mm-hmm. I wanted my kids to have something that I didn't have, And not only my kids, but while we were together, he had a child outside that a lot of people didn't know that wasn't mine. Because when you guys saw me with the 2 little girls, everybody thought they were my kids. Because I was I was pregnant and then one came and then everybody was like, damn girl, you just had them back to back. And I would just be like, yeah, might as well. I never not say, no, she's not mine. Because I love them both the same. The one he had outside, her mom took her and left her on my doorstep because he wasn't leaving me for her. And I had a child that wasn't mine while I was pregnant, so I understood why a lot of people thought that both kids were mine because no one knew when I got pregnant. More than likely she got pregnant, then she just got pregnant again. But I remember one day somebody was like, you have it all. Why are you always looking like you gotta fake your smile? And I remember I told her, I said, sometimes it's not about having it all, but just having a moment of happiness that you can remember. And I got to a point where I started to seek happiness. I started to look for
more.
Something that made me feel good because I didn't know what that was.
Something more.
I was an imitation of what this man wanted all my life. I walked the way he wanted me to walk. I spoke the way he wanted me to speak. I was living in a vessel. It's like I was a genie, and whenever he rubs my bottle, I come up and I give him wishes. I had to deal with girls laughing in my face because we had a marketing company. I had to deal with all these young girls talking bad about me, laughing in my face, calling me an idiot, being their manager, their boss's wife, but yet he's sleeping with them. It was like, where do I fit in? Mm-hmm. It was, and then everybody would ask me, why did you do it? I was never taught not to do it. When I was growing up, this is what my grandmother taught me to survive in. You know, I wasn't taught not to go out there, but then I was dwelling on one teaching and forgetting the other because my grandfather taught me not to take it. But I had to learn and I had to go through one phase before I was capable of touching the other. It came to a point where, I went to counseling. And when I went to counseling, the counselor said to me, she said, I can do 2 types of counseling for you. I can counsel you to stay and I can counsel you to leave. And I said to her, which one do you think would be best for me? Mm-hmm. She said, I'm going to counsel you. And whatever I do, you can take whatever comes out of it that makes you feel like, you know, this is what you want to do. And I remember my 4th month into going to my therapist, and I started unpacking all these things. She said, how are you still alive? And I asked her, I said, why you say that? And she said, from such a young age, you've gone through so much. How are you still alive? I said, ma'am, I can tell you the honest truth. I've tried to take myself out of this world so many times. I had to stop because it wasn't working. She said, do you go to church? I said, I used to, but I don't anymore. She said, I'm not even going to tell you to go to church, but start praying. Because I got to come out of just my way of being your therapist. And I got to tell you, God has something in store for you because ain't no way you're still alive. Mm-hmm. You're looking at a woman who's been raped 3 times, shot, stabbed, beaten the shit out of. I can write a book on every stage of abuse, emotional trauma. I have gone through every stage of trauma that someone can go through. And this didn't happen in my old years. All of this happened before I was 25. Yes. All of it happened before I was 25. And don't ask me how I survived it. I'm still figuring that out. But I know that the one thing that kept me going, the first thing that I had to lean on was God. Yes. That's when I started finding God. And I remember I went to my ex-husband and I said, hey, I want you to start doing counseling. He said, if we're not going together, I'm not going. I said, my counselor said, you have to go first. And then when you're at the stage that I am at, we can come together. He refused. He said, no, I ain't going to no counseling. I don't need no counselor to tell me how to run my... I said, okay, no problem. So I started living life for myself. I started taking trips. I started finding me. I started figuring out, certain things that just made me want to smile freely, not because somebody else wanted a smile on my face. I was now having pure laughter, and people around me could see that. Sasha-lee was one of them. I started to come to a space where it wasn't a real big FU stage, but it kind of was because now it's not what you want, it's what I want.
You started to step into your own. You started to step into your own.
Yep. And that's how I started my catering company, because I realized that I love to cook. Everybody used to come to my house for food. Like everybody here that I'm cooking, it's like, okay, when do we show up? Okay, if we can't show up, can you take it to the office, please? Like, okay, when are you going to make that pasta? Like, I haven't eaten that pasta in a while. Like, so I started to pull myself together to do things that made me feel like a person, not for the favor of anybody else. And then I found out that I was a big giver. Oh, I used to give. people wanted to drive around the whole world, call me. Like, she was there. Like, how do you do it? I don't know. But then after a while, I realized that I really wasn't doing what I wanted to do only. I was running away from what I was facing inside my own home. Mm-hmm. It was a way of not facing up to all my demons that was locked in my closet. And I remember after being married for 6 years, after being married for 6 years, one day I got sick because I was always working. There was never a day that I'm not working. I would get up, I would be at work from 6 a.m. in the morning, and I'm still working at midnight, and I get 2 hours sleep and I'm back at it again. Like, everybody would say, damn, like, don't you sleep? And I had kids, not 2 at the time to take care of. I had a household of 4 kids that had to go to school, had to wake up early in the morning, had to make them breakfast, had to pick them back up from school, had to take them home, had to make them dinner, and go back to work. That was my routine for over 12 years of being married. But one day I got sick, fell down after doing meal preps for a contract that I had. And I can't forget, like, when we went to the hospital, the doctor said, ma'am, you have stage 3 ulcer. I didn't even know that ulcer had stages. I was like, what you mean stage 3 ulcer? The man said, your ulcer is so bad that the acid that's inside of you can actually kill you if you do not take care of it right now. It can give you kidney failure. And he started to talk about all the things that could happen. And I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? And he told me, he said, you have to at least come off your feet for 2 weeks. You have to do all these things and you have to follow it by the book. I know it's going to be hard because you sound like a woman who's always at it. And I'm like, yes, this is going to be extremely hard. He said, taking care of the kids is fine. Doing all of that is fine. But that staying up too late and doing all of that, you gotta take it down a little. He was like, you're too young. And I was still in my 20s. Mm-hmm. He's like, you're too young to have such a problem. These are things that we see in people who are 60. Like, for you to have this is bad. I remember when we left the hospital, when me and my ex-husband left the hospital, he was looking at me like he was mad, like he was huffing. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? He was like, I thought you would.
Let me interject there. This was an event that you were working nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
This was the event that you were on your feet running the entire thing, right?
Yep.
Okay, mm-hmm. I know the event. Go ahead.
So he was mad. He was like, I thought you was pregnant. For the nigga I hear that you out there sleeping with. I'm like, what? So you're mad that what you thought I was doing, I'm not doing. So that's why, like, you should be mad that I've been working this hard and making sure that our brand will look good and being at your client's beck and call, because that was me. I was the wife that showed up anytime they needed. And they used to call on me. He used to make the proposal and go to the meetings. But when the work had to be executed, it was me running around with like a chicken without a neck. Mm-hmm. The next day I woke up, took my kids to school, came back home. I walked upstairs. I heard him arguing on the phone. And then he called a name. And I was so pissed. Like, for the first time, I walked up and I'm like, I am sick, nearly dying. And you're on the phone with some little hookup girl, arguing with her, not downstairs making me some breakfast or something. Like, the doctor told you that I need to be taken care of because I take care of everybody else. And I said some nasty things. Yes, I did. And I went back downstairs because we had a bedroom downstairs. And I went downstairs and I laid down. And I can't tell you how much time it was, Sasha-lee, but all I know that in the middle of my sleep, I thought I was sleeping. I felt myself elevated from the bed, and I was thrown into the wall. And I opened my eyes and I was like, what? And I was being beaten on. I don't even think I can remember for how long. But I remember at one point in time, I got a hit to the stomach and I passed out. And when I came back to, I was like, God, if this how you had me plan to leave, well, take me now, because I can't even feel the impact of those hits anymore. Like, I came to a point where
you're used to it.
I was numb.
You're used to it.
To beaten. And I was like, I can't do this. So I just laid there. I remember I was just laying there and I was looking at him and I was like, what did I do? What did I do? Like, what did I do? And my alarm went off because I had an alarm for everything. Mm-hmm. And when he looked on my phone, I think he thought it was ringing, but it said, time to leave out for kids. And he walked to the door, locked me in the room with the key, picked the kids up. I heard when the kids came into the house, because my daughter has a routine. She comes in, she goes straight to the deep freeze for her popsicles. And she went into the fridge and she was like, uh-oh, I can't touch it, Daddy. Where is Mommy? And he said to my daughter, he said, Mommy's not here right now. I couldn't scream. I was in so much pain. I couldn't move. I don't even remember when I fell asleep. I know I woke up because my stomach started to pain me so badly. I'm like, oh, I got to go to the bathroom. I couldn't stand up. So I pulled myself to the bathroom. You know my house. So you know the downstairs, how the bathroom is up on the little stairs to go in. Mm-hmm. And when I went in, I couldn't pee. Because I didn't want to pee. I was bleeding.
Because you had the ulcer. You're recovering. And then he kicks and punches you. And mm-hmm. Okay.
So I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? And then I realized that it was still early. The kids were supposed to be up getting ready. I looked in the mirror because I was ready now to start beating on the door for somebody to let me out. When I looked at myself, I'm like, my kids can't see me like this.
Yeah.
If my kids see me like this,
it's over.
This is something that they would have to look at and remember for a long time. And I remember just sitting there and hearing my daughter say, you're not making my eggs right. That's not how Mommy makes them. And my other little girl saying, I don't get that in the mornings. We don't want that.
Yeah.
And he was like, leave it alone, eat the food and let's go. And I was just sitting in the room and I was like, should I go or should I stay? It was like, and I said, you know what, let me stay. And it came to a point where they left out of the house and I literally sat down and I said, God, give me the strength. I just want to go upstairs, pack a bag, and leave. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did. I went upstairs. I packed a bag. I threw it over the balcony. I jumped into my car and I started to drive. I stopped about 10 times And I'm like, where am I going? I don't know where I'm going. Like, well, where am I? Okay, you know what? Okay, you got, and I stopped again and I'm like, I need to go back. My kids are there. And then I'm like, your kids are there, but are you in any shape or form to
take them, to fight for them?
I can't do anything. I have nothing. Because what a lot of people, and when I got away from it, I realized I had nothing in my name. Like, I had no bank accounts that was separated from his in my name. Even though I was working and I had my own money that was coming in. And a lot of people weren't told these parts of the story. I had my own money coming in separate from our company. I had my own catering company that was pulling in. You see, all those catering jobs that you guys would go on to do tasting, that was from my company. All that money I had coming in went straight to their accounts just the same. I wasn't the one who was getting the money to pay you guys. You know, that money went, he was like, it's one umbrella, you know, and you have the card anyways, that's our card, and I put money on it. But then whenever the money goes there, I'm still told the money is only for the house. So it was never a place where I had money for myself. So I had this guy that, you know, when I started doing counseling, he was doing counseling too, and he was always trying to get with me. And I'm like, you know what? Let's tangle now. I'm tired of this.
We're gonna try a thing.
I'm like, listen.
We're gonna try a thing. We're gonna try a thing.
I'm like, you got what I need. I got something you want.
We're gonna try a thing.
And it's so crazy how everything happened right in that time frame of me saying, you know, let me try something. Before anything could start, I was beaten, knocked out, run away. So I ended up going to Montego Bay where my mom is. And I remember when I went to my mom, I was like, she was like, come to the house, da 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 da. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna come. But then I sat down and I'm like, you're stupid. That's the first place he gonna look for you. And I called my best friend and I said, no, I called her like 10 times and I couldn't get her. When I couldn't get her, I was gonna go back to where I grew up, which was in Sav. I was on my way to Sav when she called me and she was like, girl, I'm moving into my new apartment. The signal is bad. Where are you? And I said to her, I burst out crying and I said, send me your address. And she was like, what's wrong? I said, just send me your address.
Just send me your address, yes.
When I went to her house and she saw me, I mean, I'm in pain. I'm crying and she crying and we both crying and falling over. And I'm like, and she was like, who did this? And I said to her, I said, who you think? And when I told her, she was like, I told you this was going to happen. Because all the things that was happening between us that I was keeping inside the home and I wasn't saying it to nobody. And I kept a lot inside the home that I didn't tell anybody. I remember when my father found out what he did, because I didn't tell my father or anybody else what was going on in my house, nobody believed me. Everybody was like, oh, you was doing shit too. You was doing this too. You was doing that. That's what he know you was doing. Da 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 da. I'm like, I'm not a saint, but half of those shit I never did.
Okay, so so you're in this marriage. I'm just debunking for persons who are just joining us, right? Your trauma started before you were born. Your first child's father, you broke up months after your son would have been born. You now go on to your daughter's father. During an argument, he said, let's just get married. Let's get it over and done with. It wasn't a romantic proposal to begin with.
Oh, no.
So now you're living the life. You're building life with each other. You've got the house. You've got the big house on the hill. You've got the hype vehicles. You know, you have the company. You're living a young girl dream. Let's say that, yeah, you live the young girl dream, right? Then you now find yourself working from morning to night just to be outside of this so-called comfort home that people think you have.
That I was very envied for.
That you were envied for. You now find yourself continuously just working and working and working so that you could be outside of this bubble that people thought you were in. Okay, so you've now gone through therapy. You wanted to go through therapy as a couple, but he refused. You wanted him to go through therapy, get to the point that you're at in your healing journey, but he refused.
Yep.
Okay, so you move on from that. You've now decided that, okay, I found myself. So you know what? I'm going to start taking a few trips. I'm going to start doing a few things for me. I'm going to grow and I'm going to get to know me, basically. I'm
going to go outside of what you. I believe I should be for somebody else.
Okay, so you start getting to know yourself, right? Okay, you move from that now. You're at a point that you get stage 3 ulcer. You get diagnosed with stage 3 ulcer, right?
Yeah.
Whilst you were supposed to be recovering, you stumble upon a conversation. You spoke to him about it. Cuss no bring good word. You have an argument. And whilst you were sleeping, he attacks you whilst you're supposed to be recovering from stage 3 ulcer. Yep. That's correct? Now, during this time of you not being able to tend to your children, the only reason why the beating would have stopped is because an alarm went off on your phone that said it's time for you to go and get the kids from school.
Yep.
So that's the only reason why he would have stopped with the assault.
Yeah.
Okay, so you leave from that now and you pack up your things and you decide that it's time for you to run. Mm-hmm. Now, the home that you want to go to would have been the same home that you would have learned abandonment in the first place.
Yep.
And if you had gone to that place, then he would have known exactly where to find you because you didn't have strong family ties to begin with.
Yes, correct.
So now, whilst all of this is happening, a gentleman steps in your life and who has liked you from some time, and he's just about what you need in that moment because you need an escape.
Yep.
At this point, you don't know where exactly you're going to go. And during that specific moment, a friend calls you and tells you that they've just got their new place. You ask for the address and you're able to show up. So right now you have somewhat of you have somewhere to stay.
Yep.
And all this time, persons thought you were living this dream life, this ideal life, the rich man wife, the money wife, drive the hype vehicle. But there were things going on beneath the surface that nobody could have known about because whereas he would have spoken about it, you never actually brought it to the forefront. It's the first time you're actually bringing it to the forefront.
Yep.
To speak your truth.
This is the first time I've really spoken about it in depth. So I've never really gone to the part where I tell people like what was really transpiring in our relationship. You know, he has always been vocal about things that he believes that I was doing or things he heard I was doing or things that people tell him I'm doing. Yeah. You know, but I never confirmed nor have I ever denied. You know? A lot of people still have speculations as to why I left. You know, a lot of rumors went around. Some of the rumors that went around was that I robbed him and ran away with a man and his money.
Yes. I heard that rumor too.
That was the biggest one, that I took all his money and ran away and he's looking for me and he don't know where I am. Mm-hmm. At no point in time did he say, I beat the crap out of her, left her in a room, left her to die, and that is why she left. You know, everybody, and then I started to be looked at as this evil mom. But a lot of people who knew me and knew what kind of mother I was started to question the whole motive. They were like,
that you ran away from your kids.
She takes care of everybody. Ain't no way she just gonna leave
her kids.
It's like that. You know, so this guy now that I met when I was going through therapy, that we really didn't get that close. Mm-hmm. When I went to my best friend's house in Montego Bay, I was badly beaten. 2 days later, my whole face was like huge. My stomach looked like I was literally 9 months pregnant. It's crazy. I was going through my photos the other day and I saw all the pictures come up because my best friend had taken pictures of me because she was like, just in case. We went to the hospital and they said if they treat me, they have to call the police because this is assault and they can't treat me without me making a police report. I asked them, I said, can I refuse medical attention? They said yes. If you refuse it, we don't have to call the cops. But if we treat you, we have to call the cops. I walked out. We had a pharmacist friend, so I went home and she went to the pharmacy and she was telling our friend, his name is Jerry, she was like, hey, this is happening. She's swollen, this, that, and the third. She was diagnosed with stage 3 ulcer. She's bleeding out of her privates. Like, what can we do? He gave me some painkillers and some antibiotics, and he was like, she still has to go and get MRIs done. She has to go and figure out if she has broken bones. Because what I'm looking at right now, it looks like she has a dislocated jaw, this, that, and the third, da-da-da-da-da. And Sasha, let me tell you, they say God shows up when he wants to and when he's ready to. As soon as my friend walked out of the pharmacy, the same guy I was telling you about stopped at her foot. And he was like, yo, what's up? She was like, nothing. He was like, man, your friend ghosts me. I guess she didn't like me in the first place. And my friend started to cry and said, you want to see my friend? And he was like, yeah, of course, you know, I like her, da-da-da-da-da. And she said, you sure you want to see her? And he was like, what you mean? Like, that girl can take all I have. Like, you know how Jamaican men are when they try everything. Yeah, she can get everything of, you know, she take it all. Da-da-da-da-da, one time. And my friend started to cry. She said, let me take you to her. And I remember I was laying on the bed, like my eyes was like half open, like my face was so swollen. And I felt someone lift me off, like say, like someone like, what the, and lift me up. And I'm like, who is this? Yeah. Like, I'm asking who, like, I can't talk properly, but I was like, who is this? And he spoke and I heard the voice and I'm like, what are you doing here? Where are they? Like, you know, like, how you find me? Like, and he was like, just stop talking. And he brought me to this private hospital that's in Montego Bay, called West, I think. It's in Freeport area. And over there, they, you know, they can treat you. If they call the cop, it's private, so you get private. Yeah. So I was in that hospital for, I think, 2 weeks. Oh, wow. I had this brace on my face because my jaw was slightly dislocated to the left. Upon doing MRIs and CT scans, I found out that I was half deaf and half blind in my left side. I had a back problem. I had a back injury when I was growing up, but now I have 2 back injuries. I had 1 broken rib. My stomach was messed up to the max. That was the main reason why I was in the hospital for that long, because of my stomach. I also have a heart problem. So the doctors did not know that I was allergic to aspirin, which is a blood thinner that they normally admit. That's the first thing they're going to administer. Mm-hmm. So they gave me aspirin because I was having blood clots because of the rib problem. And now I started to have an allergic reaction. They had to do a blood transfusion on me in order to get rid of the clots. And that's when they found out I was allergic to aspirin. Mm. So that alone kind of extended my stay being in the hospital. When I came out, and my best friend was like, okay, we're going to go home. This man said, nope, you got to get taken care of. So I'm taking you home with me. You're going to come stay with me, and I'm going to take care of you. And this man did, I was like, I always told myself, I'm not going to get caught up into this, because one of the main reasons why I never gave you no time of day was because you were closely like this man that I'm running away from. You know, you still had your womanizing. Jesus, you was good.
Get your lick back, girl. Get your lick back. Yeah.
The ladies that you had, they were perfectly taken care of, and nobody didn't have to worry about them. Everything was fine with them. I'm like, but the fact that I did not want to go back to where I was coming from, and I saw so many similarities in them, but then I'm like, most Jamaican men have these characteristics
and traits.
You know, it's not easy to find, but the difference between the both was the attention. You know, the getting to know who I was. You know, the wanting to know the things that made me laugh. The not questioning why I want to go there or why I want to do this. It was like a breath of fresh air. I remember when I got better, he said to me, you want to go on a vacation? I said, sure, but I don't know where I'm going to go. He's like, pick a place and tell me how much you need. And I left the country without nobody even knowing. I left, I came back, and I was like, I got to go home. I miss my kids. I missed my children. Sasha, I remember the first time I walked through those doors, I went back outside and I slept in my car. I couldn't go inside the house. It was like I'm feeling the pain all over again. And I remember I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a try. You know, I'm going to make it work, you know? It's going to work. Like, you know what? I started going back to counseling. I started doing 2 counseling now. I started to go to church for counseling, and I was going to my regular therapist because I'm like, I need God. And I realized that every time I walk in that house, it would be just stress. So now I stopped going to the house. I started picking the kids up and taking them to me to Montego Bay every weekend or every other weekend. I would just pick them up and take them with me, you know, and come back with them Monday mornings and drop them off at school. And that would just be the routine for a while until it came around to Christmas. And when it came around to Christmas, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do my regular Christmas dinner that I always do, you know, that we invite everybody and people come and eat, I'm like, maybe this is a time when I can reconnect. You know, maybe this would help me remember the good things that used to happen in our lives.
Right.
And Sasha, I remember I was up from 2 a.m. cooking. I finished cooking late. So I'm like, let me go upstairs and get myself together. My little brother called. And I was on the phone with my little brother. And I was like, what you just said? And, you know, we were talking, and it sounded if you don't know who I'm talking to, you might think I'm talking to somebody that I'm intimate with, but it was never that. I was talking to my brother. So we were there, and I'm like, you know, I love you. And then he was saying in my ear, yeah. You don't love me. I love you more. And I said, shut up, big head. I love you. You know, you mean the world to me. I was telling him, I'm like, man, you should have been here this Christmas. You know, you're missing my Christmas dinners once again. And he's like, yeah, I know you can throw it down in the kitchen. And I'm like, yeah, I miss you. I love you. Have a Merry Christmas. And I only felt someone grab my hand
again
from behind and flash the phone out of my hand. And my phone went on speaker, and my brother was like, hey, "You there, sis?" And he let me go and stepped 2 spaces back, and he was like, I'm sorry. I thought you was, and I'm sorry. Sash, I peed myself.
Mm-hmm.
I was so hard. I was wet. I was drenched in urine. My chest started to tighten up on me. I felt my heart stop beating in my chest, and it started again. And I ran, and I'm like, I cannot
do this again.
And he was like, I wasn't going to hit you. I'm sorry. I said, no. I said, if I allow myself to stay with you, you're going to kill me. And no one should be blamed for it but me, because I stayed. I said, I can't do it. And that's when I started to separate myself. You know, I remember when I came back, a lot of people was like, so did you really do it? Did you steal all his money and run away with a man? And I'm like, you guys really believe that bullshit? I did that, and he took me back in his house. Right. And still treating me like his wife. I did that. Yeah, because he loves you. He ain't like that. He's a nice man. And I said, okay, you guys can believe what you want to believe, but I know what I know. And that's when I started to travel. That's when I started to come to the States, spend time and go back home, come here, spend time, go back home. Mark you, I still had Mr. Man that took me out of my bed, and, you know, he was making sure my every needs was taken care of. I did not ask for nothing. I did not have to ask for anything. You know, I'm like, you live in triple, double, fupple, couple, shuffle, whatever life with everybody out there. I'm gonna stick to, because we even stopped being intimate. So I'm like, I got you over here, you the husband, I'm your wife, but we gonna live this kind of life that I got my shit going on over here, you got your shit going on over there. And when we come into the house, we be cordial. So when you see me every 6 months or every whatever month you choose to see me, we say hi and bye, and we sleep in our separate rooms. If you don't touch me, please do not touch me, because I'm not touching you. At this point, you're frustrated and you're fed up. No, at this point, I was done. Yeah, you're done. And I stayed because we had children, and I did not want my kids to, you know, not have I was still on that mommy and daddy who, you know, thing. So I realized that we started to argue now, because now I'm not backing down. Now you're going to hear this mouth. Now I'm telling you what I feel like tell you. Now I'm disregarding you. Now I became an abuser. I moved from being abused, victimized, to now the abuser in my story. And this is what emotional trauma does to people. When you get to that breaking point and you don't know how to deal with your life trauma, you move from victim to being the one thing in your life that you hate the most. Absolutely. And I became an abuser. I was nasty, Sasha-lee. Why am I calling you Sasha-lee? Sasha-lee, I was nasty. I was so nasty, but nobody saw it. Ooh, I was nasty. Ooh, girl. Ooh. I whooped his ass a couple times in that house too before I left. I was nasty. He came to work with a bust eye, and everybody was asking him what happened. He said he fell off the bed. I bust the eye. But he didn't want to tell nobody, because then he would have to tell them why I did it. And he never wanted to tell nobody why you did it. I did it first. This is my karma, you know? And I remember one day I was in the house, and I said, I'm tired of seeing this man. I'm going to say the devil took over. At this point in time, it was resentment. It was hate. It was everything bad. And I started to think about how I can unalive him. I went to the point of buying what I needed to unalive him. Because I was big in the sciences going to school. I started to figure out I can put this in his food and he will go to sleep and he will never wake up and they will think that he just had a heart attack.
So now you're in a dark place.
I remember the day that I said I'm going to do it. And then my daughter came downstairs and she was like, Mommy, come here. And I'm like, what? And she pulled me upstairs. And she said, sit down beside Daddy. And I said, why? And I'm looking at this innocent child. She said, sit beside Daddy, Mommy, sit beside Daddy. And I sat beside him and she said, I haven't seen you hug or kiss Daddy in so long. Why? And tears ran down my eyes. And that's when I knew it was over.
Started affecting the kids.
Yep. I was like, I have to be, I know he's not going to give this up because he said it. Because he was like, you're not getting anything. Because when he did what he did and I ran away, he cleared out all my accounts. Every card that I had went on zero. I had no money. No money. And he told me, he said, come home or stay broke. And I had to leave. A lot of people are like, you left your kids. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Left my son, left my daughter, left everybody in that house. Why did I do it? They had a home. I had none. They had a person who could provide. I didn't even know the first step of providing. They had somewhat of something put together. My shit was all over the place. What was I going to do? And then my son's father called me one day and he was like, my son called me and he said he wants to come to America. And I said, okay, give me some time. And that's when I knew I had to put my life together. And I started putting my life together. I was with my sister at the moment, and the house that we was in had a 1-bedroom downstairs that my other sister would occupy whenever she came in. And I spoke to the landlord and I'm like, I want that room because now I know my son is coming. I'm like, we don't start right here in this room until we move from one room to, everybody having their own space. And that's how it started, Sasha-lee. And I didn't find myself right there either. I was still trauma-filled, walking around, nothing good, just everything all over the place until the pandemic hit. And it hit me too. Like, now you're locked in. You can't go nowhere. Yeah. You're out. You're illegal in this place. Girl, your legs are tied, your foot are tied, your hand are tied, everything tied. And I'm like, what am I going to do? And then my son started to get emotional trauma too. Yeah. And then I started studying about ways to help your kids through emotional trauma and all of that. And that's how I did my first course in becoming a life coach. It wasn't for me, it was to help my son. And I went from course 1 to course 2 to course 3 until I finished all the courses. And I started to because when you're becoming a life coach, they teach you to put all of the things that you're studying on yourself first. So I was my own guinea pig. Yeah. And I remember when I started to unpack, I locked myself in my room for a whole week. When I realized how dark I had gotten and the things that I had did, I felt like I was dirty. I felt like I had to cleanse myself. I fasted for a whole week. All I had was my Bible and a few bottles of water. I remember my son came one day and he was like, "Mommy, eat." And I'm like, "I can't. I wish you could understand why your mommy can't right now." And I did a whole week of fasting. And I prayed and I fasted and I cried and I prayed and I fasted and I cried. And I came out of it. And when I came out of it, I'm going to show you how sometimes it's when the vessel is clean that the evil spirits linger so much around you, you don't even know. I met this guy, went to this place with a friend because she was like, "Hey, I'm going to a party. You haven't been out in a while." I'm like, "You know what? Yeah." She said, "It's nothing that's no big music, no reggae, or anything like that. You're going to have, it's like a dinner party." I'm like, "Yeah, that makes sense." I went there and I met this guy. Tell me why the man was the same thing I just cleansed myself from. Ooh, he came beautiful. Ooh, gave me flowers every week, took me out, made me feel special. The things that I'm asking for, I was just getting it. Like, thank you. And I'm like, until one day, I had posted a picture and I was like, his wife. I was talking about this man, I was saying his wife, but us Jamaicans, we talk different. So a friend of mine sent me a message and he was like, "Yes, wifey." This man had my password to everything. He went in, he saw the message and he was like, "My man is calling me his," like, what? And I'm like, "No, he's referring to the post that I made." This man destroyed my whole apartment. Broke my TV, everything. And I'm like, the next thing you're going to break is me. You got to leave. Gotta leave. And I gave myself peace for a while. I'm like, this is it. No more. No more. No more. I had to start unpacking. I was like, I was unloading, I was unpacking, and I'm like, if people only know, it's hard to unpack, but it feels so good when you get it out, when you get the necessary help that you need to move forward in life. Emotional trauma is one of the main things that have people unalive themselves daily. And that is why men unalive themselves so often, because they suffer more from emotional trauma. Because you see how I can come here and I can talk about this and people will have so much remorse towards me. 75% of the time, men come here and if they speak about what I just spoke about, they will be called a simp, they will be called weak, they will be called so many things in the book. Yes, the leading cause of death for men under 50 is suicide, and that's because men don't have anyone to speak to. They don't get a chance to unpack their traumas. If a man ever come out in traumatized, you see, we call him every name in our book. We call him. We call him every name in our book. We tell him say my sissy. We tell him say my soft swoop. We tell him say woman are gonna use things and beat him. You understand? And the leading cause of death for men under 50 years of age is suicide. Yep, it is. And I can say this to you, Sasha-lee. Continue, man. Continue. I know somebody named Sasha-lee. I don't know why her name keep on coming on my mouth. That's fine. I know what you mean. Mm-hmm. Sasha, I can tell you one thing. Every single day I get up, I remind myself of how blessed I am. I remind myself about all my emotional traumas. Because there are more traumas. They're physical, there's emotion, there's verbal. There is so much packed into me that even last year, my relationship was going through turmoil because I had all the things that was packed into my subconscious just unpacking on me. And I'm like, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. It's like my whole world was falling apart. And imagine being with someone and you cannot relate to them what's happening. Because you don't know. Because this is far from emotions now. Emotions I can talk about. But this is something that was eating me from the inside out, that I went back to my dark place, you know? And this year was like an awakening moment for me. I was like, you know what? I'm going to deal with my subconscious now. I had to come to terms that it's either I deal with it or it's going to deal with me. It's one of the two. Absolutely. But we can't dwell in the same place. And I have a journal, and I started to write down all the names of everyone who has ever hurt me, all the names of everyone that I have knowledge of hurting. And I started to write the things beside it that I have done and what they have done to me. And I started to address it one by one, by one, by one. And I realized that I started remembering so many things. You see how I told you that I didn't know my mom until a certain age? I remembered that I met my mom when I was 3 years old because she came to the house to have a party for my sister. But I didn't remember that. Why? Because she didn't come there for me. She came there for my sister. Mm. So for me, that's like, you already left me. And now you came and it's not even for me, you know, it's for somebody else. Like, woman, leave me alone. You know, like, come on. Yeah. Hey, Sissy. So why I said I wanted to speak about emotional trauma is because the system that most of us was born in or grew up in, it taught us how to submit to our emotional traumas. It didn't teach us how to face it.
How to push it under the cover, how to sweep it under the rug.
Yeah, we submitted to it. We let our emotional trauma take a part of us that we need. And some of us, we wonder why we explode so easily. It's because our subconscious has things that we have packed away that we can relate to, but we're wondering, how is it that we're relating to a man calling me this name in this very derogatory way? Because you don't remember what it is, but your nerves and all your atoms and everything inside of you, it remembers that trauma because it's still there, but we have no knowledge of it anymore because we have suppressed it so deeply that now we're at a space where if we don't figure out and watch the pattern and the reasons why we go there and the reasons why we do things, we will continuously go into relationships not for the benefit of us, but the benefit of running away from the things that we refuse to face.
To deal with as well. So Kiva, now that you've unpack that. Guys who are joining us, Adrian, you have become a subscriber. Thank you. I saw you subscribe earlier, but I couldn't interrupt Kiva's flow. So thank you for that. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed. So Kiva, and guys, welcome to our safe space. This is a safe space where anyone can come and speak and know that it's a safe space away from judgment. Know that you've unpacked that. You said you've been stabbed, you said you've been shot, you've been beaten, you've been verbally abused, you've been physically abused, right? You've done counseling, you've done soul searching, you've gone to a place where you've had fasting, deep fasting. Know that you're at a place of your journey where you're learning to really debunk and unpack and, heal. How are you doing now? And what would you say to a woman? What would you say to the young version? What would you say to your younger self?
If I had a chance
to speak to young Kiva, what would you say to her?
Mm-hmm. I would tell myself that, hey, the road ahead, it ain't gonna be easy, but you're gonna come out on top. You got this. Don't give up. You're gonna have a lot of moments that you're gonna feel like there's no way out, and that you're gonna be shattered to pieces. You are going to be eaten from the inside out. But the one thing I can tell you is you are going to become something great in life. So don't give up. Because the woman I am today, no one can look at me and say, she's a 36-year-old woman who went through all the things she went through and have done all the things she has done and still have a heart of gold.
Yes.
I still aim to help people even when I need help myself.
Yes.
I've come to realize that that's just who I am. I am still okay with giving you what I don't have because I know I'm going to get it. But what I will not do is be used and abused the way I allowed myself to be used and abused before. I don't give to who is not given to me anymore. No, because that's not bad on them. That's bad on me. That's me using myself right there. So certain things that I would allow myself to do, I don't do it anymore. Every day I aim to do something new that's going to make me better. I have my hard days too.
Yes.
I have my days that I lay in my bed and I don't want to get up. I just had like 3 hard days back to back that I slept in my couch. I didn't even come into my bedroom. My bedroom door has been closed. I eat and sleep right there. I'm like, I don't want to move because we're all going to have those times. But what I would say to anyone who has gone through any form of trauma, you are not a victim. You are a survivor. Never think of yourself as a victim. Once you remain being a victim, you will never stop being a victim. But once you start looking that you survived, that will motivate you to move forward in life and become the things that everybody told you could never be. You will do the things that you always thought was impossible. I always tell people this, there is no limit to what you can achieve in life. The limit is you. The limit is you. You are what you want to become. And what you want to become is you. So you can sit down and be like, I ain't going to be nothing. That means you really plan on not being anything. At 36 years old, I am now pursuing all the things, all the dreams and aspirations that I had before. I'm going back to school. I have 2 registered companies. I'm a life coach. I have a nonprofit organization that I'm working on. It's not big yet, but I am making it into what I want. I am making it for people like me, for kids who have gone through the things that I have gone through and they have nobody to tell them that you're going to be okay. And it's okay to not be okay sometimes. It's okay to cry. It is okay to feel all these emotions because something transpired in your life to bring you to this point. But just know that whatever happened was for you to be stronger, not weaker. It wasn't made to bury you. It was made to bring you to life. It's different. I have seen so many kids out here who they want to be different, but they have no one to tell them what difference is because they get up every single day and they see the same thing. They see their friends get gunned down. They see their friends get beaten, raped, abused. That's all they know. So when it does happen to them, for them it's normal. And I just got to deal with it. No, you don't. But what I want you to know is that you can live through it. The Bible verse says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. When we go through trauma, that's the valley, that's the shadow, that's the death. But fearing no evil because God is with us. That's when we reborn, because He is with us and He's going to take us through it. Don't try to jump over hurdles. You won't make it. You're going to trip and fall. Walk through your pain. Walk through your suffering. Go through it. Not over it, underneath it. Go through it, because when you go through it, you will never go back to it. And why most of us repeat offenders, it's because we never got the chance to go through the things in life. We always took the way around it. Find something to suppress it, push it aside. I'm going to work harder. I'm going to take on an extra shift because I don't want to do this. I did it, and it got me nowhere. It got me to a place that I was ready to give up.
But yet still here you are. And I'm sure that you're speaking to many people, and I'm sure that you're speaking to many women in the comment section, because a lot of women are being abused. A lot of women are being abused. A lot of women have been abused, and they haven't they've never, felt like they were ready to speak about it, but you're here speaking for them. So the women would have heard, what would you say to the men who are in our comment section currently? And I want you to speak from your angle on this, from what you would have endured. What would you say to the men that are abusing women? And also, what would you say to the men who are raising daughters? And sons. But I want it from a woman's perspective. What would you say to the men that are raising daughters? And what would you say to the men who are abusing women?
So that's a touchy one. Oh my gosh. My stomach.
Break it down.
Just now.
Yeah, I'm the one that asked those questions. You can break it down.
So I would say to any man who have ever abused a woman or have ever been abused by a woman, because the abuse goes both ways. Think about it like this. If a man walks up to you, right, and punches you in the face, it hurts, right? Hurts like hell. Just sit down and dwell in that and just think about, every time you think about doing anything abusive to a woman, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, verbal, it doesn't matter. Just think about somebody doing that to your daughter or son. And if you don't have kids, think about somebody doing that to your mom. Really, and I know, because most of us grew up in a household that their mothers or their fathers were abused. Daddy being abused by mommy, because it happens, and mommy being abused by daddy. So you grow up with that stigma of believing that, hey, it's okay, but it's not. It's not okay. It's never okay, no matter what way it goes. It is something that inflicts a pain on you that you will never forget, whether or not you were the abuser or the abusee. And I was both. So imagine that trauma that you're placing on somebody else that traumatizes you too. Because what a lot of us abusers fail to take up and say is, when you hit that woman or when you hit that man, it has an impact on you. Because you sit down and you think about what you've done. You're like,
yes, you think on it.
Oh my God, I just hurt her. That's why a lot of us, when we hurt, we rush to your aid at the same time.
Yes.
Why put yourself through all of that when you could just simply walk away? If you have to think about hurting someone, that means you're not supposed to be together. You are not meant to be. I don't care what about that person. If somebody drives you to the point of you having to lift your hand or say something to them to break them down and belittle them, or putting some kind of punishment on them, not even your hands, but punishing that person in a way that you know will hurt them.
Yes.
Leave them alone.
Absolutely.
Walk away from it. It is not worth it.
And it's
because
not love.
you're infatuated with that person. You do not love them. You find things about that person that makes you feel good inside. And when they cannot fulfill those expectations, you turn around and you inflict pain on them. It's not right. I don't know how else to put it. But if you have to think about hurting that person, leave them alone. It's not worth it. It's not worth the trauma that you're going to get from hurting them. And it's not worth the trauma that you're going to put on them that they're going to have to put on somebody else. Because they're going to take all that trauma and give it to somebody else, just the way that I did. Because all my life I was placing trauma on people that I didn't even know I was doing. But they were doing the same to me. So it was trauma given, trauma taken, trauma given, trauma taken. So I had to come to the point of saying, when is enough enough? You know, don't allow yourself to be consumed by hate and trauma that you choose to burden others with it. Get help. Seek therapy. Get help, not for them, but for you. We in the Black community have this stigma about therapy. Oh, I ain't gonna do no therapy. That bullshit. Seek help. Yeah. Even if you don't want to go sit down and talk to a licensed therapist, there are other ways. Go to a group meeting. There are different ways to deal with it. There are so many doors that we can take that's open that we refuse because we think it's going to make us look weak. It's not weak. It makes us stronger. Do what's best for you at all costs. Don't let anybody push you to that point of you belittling yourself and making yourself less than who you truly are. Seek help. And if you don't want to seek help, pray to God.
Absolutely. Guys, you've heard from our guests. There's so much to unpack there. There's so much to learn from. The number one lesson that I've learned from this is that not all that glitters is gold. And no matter what you think people know, persons are going to always form their own opinions of the life that they believe that you are living. And an important lesson is to learn to live in your truth and walk in your truth. Because the only person that is going to have to deal with it when all comes to an end is a person who you will see in the mirror. The mind that you lay with when you go in your bed. We can lie to other people, but the one person that we can never lie to is ourselves. And that's because we already know the truth, right? So that is what I want you guys to take from this. I want you guys to take that not all that glitters is gold. Live in your truth, and regardless of what you do, people are going to form an opinion of you. That opinion is irrelevant. That opinion is irrelevant. And also there are a lot of children walking around in adult bodies. You see some men and they look big and thick and their voice is coarse and you know they're powerful, they have the status, they have the money, they have the girls, but beneath all of that facade is a terrified little boy. You see a girl, she's beautiful, or to you she might be ugly, however you see her. But what you don't know is that behind what you think you can see in that big woman is a tired and frustrated little girl, a little girl that never had a place to go for rescue, a little girl that never had a safe space, right? So let us be mindful of how we treat one another. Men, be careful of how you treat women. You came from women. Women, be careful of how you treat men. No matter what we want to say about them, we need them one way or the other. Right? Me love money, so no matter what no matter what we want to say, no, Kiva, sometimes we have to laugh. No, sometimes we have to laugh.
You said that.
Yeah.
I have a friend that, like, I call them my sisters. They're in here right now. Mm-hmm. And every time we talk, like on there, some guy will say something or they would approach me. I said, I've been hovering over the same dick for the past 2 years. Leave my ass alone. Mm-hmm. I need
one way or the other.
Leave me alone. Like, I'm okay over here. I'm contented. Leave me alone. I'm like,
one way or the other.
I said that, I'm like, I 100% what you see. One of them laughing like,
yeah. One way or the other.
We need them. Listen,
we need them. So take care of them.
We can birth, we secure the egg, but y'all, we need you for the egg. Without you, there's no egg. We have a sac. People, they keep on saying women have eggs. We don't have eggs. We have sacs. The sperm is actually, the yolk is the egg. Anybody that did science and biology in school, they tell you that the yolk of the egg is where the chicken is formed from. So there's no way the shell that holds the yolk in there is the egg. It's not.
Okay. Positive girls say yes. So listen up.
Listen, we love.
One way or the other, we need them. So ladies, take care. When you find a good one, when you find a genuine one, take care of him. Take care of it.
That's my brother right there.
Yeah. Take care of him, okay? And like I said, men, take care of your women. There's a lot that there are a lot of lessons that can be taken from this. I saw persons in the comment section saying that they wish they could come out and speak their truth the way that Kiva has come out and spoken hers, but they're not ready yet. Be strong, my darling. Take your time. Find like Kiva says, find a counseling, find a group. There are lots of free groups, online. If you don't have enough money to go into therapy, to hire a therapist, then find a group, find a safe space that you can go in with people that are understanding or are able to emphasize with what you're going through and will give you the help that you need, not tell you what you want to hear, but will give you the help that you need and be able to tell you the hard truth that you may not be ready to face on your own, right? Not everybody's going to be. Kiva went through this years ago. One time, I'm sure she would have never thought about coming on and speaking about it. It's the first. There are aspects of her truth that it's the first time she's actually speaking about it, and then speaking to me about it because I know, certain things and I know certain people, and I would have seen, we have a few people in the comment sections that are from, the company and are hear things for the first time. So I'm sure her strength to speak didn't come overnight, I'm sure it didn't come overnight, but eventually if Kiva got there, you can get there too. It's just something for you to work through, right? Something to work through in you're at your pace and at the stages that come. Okay, I thank you, Kiva. You helped me. You helped a lot to be able to open up.
Hey, I know her. Hey, hon. Hey, Nina.
Absolutely.
You see, the things that we need to understand about life is life don't wait on nobody. I'm going to say this to anybody who has been traumatized in their entire life. Life ain't waiting on nobody. And you can sit down and still be that 10, 11, 12-year-old that's going through trauma and